So I think for most of us, our first experience of Venetian rowing is watching the gondolas and the gondoliers. And I think the big question for people who don't know the world of Venice is, why do they row standing up?
That's a good question. Why do we row standing up? However, when you come to Venice and try it, it all becomes quite obvious. Obviously, sitting down rowing is maybe a slightly faster way of rowing. However, you can't see where you're going, and this is vital in Venice with all its little canals and turns and everything. So you need a form of rowing, not canoeing or paddling, which doesn't give you as much leverage, but rowing, but where you can see where you're going, and you're not carrying someone to cox a kind of dead weight in the boat. So, so obviously the city calls for a form of moving the boat where you can see where you're going. This is the main thing.
So, so we have the gondolas and the gondoliers, and then we have kind of everyday rowing, the kind of rowing community, which I think most visitors to Venice are much less familiar with. You know, they'll see a few people rowing up and down the Grand Canal, not wearing striky t-shirts, but they won't really know what that world means. And you are very much part of that world. So, I mean, tell us a little bit about how the world of the gondolier is different from the world of the everyday rower that we see going up and down.
Well, it used to be that rowing was a way of life for everyone in Venice. Obviously now Venice is motorised, so the only people using the rowing as a form of work are the gondoliers, just doing a like a little tour service. The rest of us now, Venetian rowing is a sport or a pastime, but the community is actually quite small in that the main rowing clubs, Venetian rowing clubs, sprang up in the 1970s.
So today, I mean, the reason really we're making this story today is because it's the event called the Regata Storica, which is a really important event for the Venetian rowing community. Tell me how people in Venice and the rowers get involved with the story. Can anyone enter? Do you have to qualify? It's a race.
It's a race. No, not anyone can try to get in the race. However, in a Venetian race, there are only 9 boats. That's why they're all different colours. In this case, there's a series of races organised by the City Council, and this is the big one, the main one. It's not actually a final, but it is the most important race of the season. So to qualify for it, you have to go through a set of time trials to get in. So these are the people we're seeing today are basically like in the top 10 of the Venetian rowing community. Then there's the parading of other boats, and other people can, you know, anyone who can row basically gets to like join in through their rowing club or through the city council.
So this is really, the people we'll see racing today are the elite rowers. I mean, how hard do they have to train?
Well, having looked at the questionnaires with most of the people and my own experience, basically we're training all year round, like around about 5 days a week. Basically you plan to go out every day. One day the rowing club is closed, so that kind of blocks it, and then there's always something else to do. So on average it works out about 5 days a week, especially in peak season, for around about 1.5 to 2 hours training session. And then, but of course there's a lot of getting the boat in and out and putting the boat away, so it takes a fair bit of time.
So that's a pretty big commitment.
Yes.
And so when they start racing, I mean, obviously the idea is to row faster than anyone else, but aside from that, what kind of strategies do these really elite rowers use to try and win?
Well, there's no laneways in a Venetian race, and just in case the boats have not had a chance to crash into each other, there's always a turn to give them another opportunity. So the Regata Storica is unusual in that the first 500 metres there are laneways, but after that, once you get past St Mark's Square, then you can all kind of converge. And obviously now, because it's tidal here, your positioning in the tide is going to be very important. So everyone starts jostling for position.
And so just to clarify, where does the Regata Storica start and where does it end?
It starts down by the Giardini area there, comes down all the way down the Grand Canal, past Canal Canareggio, the turns there, and then it ends just in front of the university down here at the bend.
And how long roughly does it take?
About 40 minutes of rowing.
Okay. Now you founded an organisation, co-founded an organisation called We Are Here Venice, which teaches tourists the basics of this extraordinary craft, which we call Venetian rowing la voga. That's right.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about your organisation and why you decided to start teaching visitors this ancient craft.
Well, I decided to start teaching because I was just so enthusiastic about it. I just wanted to let other people have a go at it, and that was like always being asked in that. So I just started off slowly, and it grew. You know, people love trying Venetian rowing. So we're an association of about 20 women. We're based as a non-profit. So what we're trying to do is expand and open up this Venetian rowing as a sport by getting other people involved, and also using the money to sustain it in within Venice, especially within the women's section.
Okay, and I mean, you talk about sustainability in Venice. You know, there's a big kind of international debate at the moment about cruise ships in Venice, about the danger to Venice of motor engines, boats with motor engines. I mean, I imagine that rowing in Venice does the city no damage.
Exactly, no damage whatsoever. It does become more difficult all the time to row. Even out in the lagoon, there's a lot of wake, and this is so it's very hard to row. In the beginning, when there was the introduction of motorboats, which evolved from like the 30s onwards, there was legislation saying that a motorboat had to pass behind the back of the rower and not disturb their rowing. However, this legislation was just, I don't know, ignored, cast aside, and you know, every year the wake gets worse.
Thank you very much, Jane.
You're welcome.